Welcome to the NFL Saturday Podcast. This is Amp.
And I'm Scotty.
And we're here to catch you up on fantasy football for the week. And we'll
have some fun along the way.
I don't know. Who knows if we did it right?
We literally never can know.
We can never know until after.
Until it happens. Today, right.
Exactly. Today, though, we are going to talk about the playoffs so far and also about the conference championships. It's going to be an exciting episode. Sorry we didn't have an episode last week. Scotty wasn't feeling well, and I also just worked a 14-hour shift, I think, so I was not feeling up for it. So
14?
14 hours. It was not fun. But before we get into the episode, are you ready for your fun fact of the day, Scotty?
Always ready.
This is a very fun fact for me specifically, because the most extra points ever missed in any NFL game happened 2 weeks ago with Brett Maher, who missed 4 extra points against Tampa Bay. This was the most extra points, obviously, in the playoffs, because they mentioned on the broadcast the most extra points missed in a playoff game was 2 before this game, obviously. So he shattered that record. That was blew past that. And then the most extra points missed in a regular season game is 3. So he broke that too.
Did you know that he also missed Dallas's final extra point attempt back in week 18? Like the last extra point he attempted before the season ended, he also missed. So when he missed 4 in a row versus Tampa Bay, it was technically 5 in a row across 2 games that he missed.
Exactly.
He missed. Yep. He missed. How do you miss, bro? 5 times.
Also, I think this is the lowest fantasy score ever. I mean,
did he have negative?
Right? Because if you have points for missing extra points, if you lose 1, it would have been -3. And it's really hard to get -3. I don't think you can just get -3. Because I've seen -2 maybe if someone fumbles and gets injured. But -3 is really hard to get.
He did make one, correct? They scored a 5th touchdown, and he finally put one through. That's why it's only
-3. Yeah, so that's why it's -3. What
the heck is he doing? I mean, after the first 2, I feel like he was just in his own head. It's hard to snap out of that, I guess.
But they kept putting him in. They made it.
I would go for 2. I was at work, and after he missed the second one, me and this guy were just randomly like, you know what? I would go for 2 the rest of the game. Clearly, he's just not feeling it. And then they disregarded our advice that they didn't hear, and he missed 2 more. I mean, what are you doing?
When you see a team that scores 31 points, you don't assume that's 5 touchdowns.
Nope, I'm thinking they scored 4 touchdowns and a field goal.
Exactly. But, I mean, hey, hilarious either way.
Hilarious for you.
I know, very hilarious for me. And then he missed one last week. So out of his last
that's right.
Points, he missed 6.
He had 1 block. You're right. I completely forgot about that. The first one he took versus San Francisco, he got blocked.
And then he didn't kick an extra point. He did make 2 field goals, but he didn't kick an extra point.
They didn't attempt an extra. So he made 1 out of 7 extra points across 3 games. That's got to be the worst stretch for 1 for 7. What is that? 12%? 13%? I mean, it's brutal.
It's really bad. Yeah, I think it's 13%. I think you're right. But yeah,
that's a wild number.
Very insane.
Jesus, poor guy.
Well, yeah, he's on Dallas.
I mean, we hate Dallas, so I mean, it couldn't happen to a better guy.
yeah, exactly. I hope he does well on whatever team he plays next. Because
he's done for sure. Yeah, he's damn sure. Because they're going to be like, no, we're not blaming Dak. We're blaming the kicker. It was all the kicker's fault. Dak is good to go.
Well, I guess we can get into the episode now after that fun fact.
That was very fun. I appreciate
it. Our first topic will be our betting challenge because Scotty is now only up $100K.
You are catching up.
And I was very low. I was down to 22K. I thought I was going to lose, but then League of Legends came back, and I'm now up to 70K. So I'm on fire. We'll just say
I was
that.
already imagining you eating those spicy wings, and then you just went on a heater. Now that dream is looking like a nightmare.
I mean, I'm the opposite of Brett Maher because I've won 6 out of my last 7 bets. So
yeah, can you imagine? You have a better accuracy with sports bets than he does with kicking a 27-yard extra point.
Exactly.
That's
It's like even the opposite, the exact. If you said that I was betting the opposite of how a field goal kicker was kicking extra points, you would assume I was doing really bad. But
it's true.
Actually, no, it's the opposite.
Yeah, you're doing very well. That is a strange way to view it. You have the inverse winning percentage, and you're benefiting from it. That's wild.
Yeah.
All right. Hopefully next you have the inverse of Justin Tucker, and you go 0 for 7.
I hope not, and for your sake, I hope not for your sake. Well, because then Justin Tucker is going to start missing some extra points, and you're gonna.
No, I want him to go 7 for 7, which means you go 0 for 7.
He cannot go 7-7 in the offseason. Haha, got you. Got you there.
Maybe they'll do a package deal. They'll trade Justin Tucker and Lamar Jackson to Dallas, and then we'll get Dak Prescott and a first round pick.
If Lamar Jackson's on the Cowboys, I would be very sad. Well, to be fair, I would be very sad for the long term, but I think their coaches are terrible. So I think that's their main issue. We'll talk about that later, though.
Okay.
Now, it's time for your
Mr. Unlimited
moment of the week.
Oh, Jesus.
Are you ready for this, Scotty?
I haven't heard it yet, so yeah, let's go. I'm ready.
Well, you thought this was going to be a fun episode if you're listening and you're a Dallas Cowboys fan. But my Mr. Unlimited goes to the Dallas Cowboys. Let's go.
Oh boy, did they play a bad game.
Yes, they did.
Are we Mr. Unlimiting their performance against the 49ers?
I am going to say the whole team. Yeah,
that's fine.
I think obviously I can lump in Brett Maher again and kind of rip on him again for missing 6 out of 7 extra points.
100%.
Have you you know who Ninja is, right? That tweet he made about NFL kickers.
Oh, like how hard can it really be, or something like that.
I do say I think he's an idiot for saying that, but I actually agree with him on this one because I feel like Brett Maher should not have missed 6 out of 7 extra points, which is like the one thing that's like a free throw. And you're like paid. You're the paid free throw shooter. Like
correct.
It's crazy to me.
Did you know that when he made that comment, Pat McAfee had him come on to his podcast, the Pat McAfee Show?
Are you?
And they very softly, subtly, passive aggressively, like pretty much called him an idiot for saying that because of how much pressure and how difficult it actually is to like shoulder all of that. Like pretty much you're putting the whole entire 53-man squad on your back, and you're the one responsible for these 3 points.
Yeah, and it's also the accuracy is very hard too, because people don't realize when you get farther away, it's not just like you have to kick it farther. The accuracy, the
target's
is a smaller
percentage.
Yeah,
correct.
So it's like it's very hard to get it in the target once you get further out.
I completely. I've seen those NFL challenges where they do like the pregame and the fans can come onto the field and attempt an extra point with the tee and no noise and no defenders running at your face and no 6 feet tall guys backing up and blocking your view. They just have like a perfect clean shot and still can't make it. So I can completely understand how you could miss even in a regular situation. And then imagine the game is on the line. Imagine you're kicking an extra point to tie the game and force overtime or to break the tie and end the game. The amount of shit going through your brain at that time in order to block all that out and focus and put the kick through regardless of all of that, You got nerves of steel. I commend kickers everywhere because they're.
But that said, I do agree. But Brett Maher was in a game where they were destroying. He had no pressure. There was no pressure besides what he was in his own head.
Shouldn't have been any. He should have just been out there lobbing them through. Yeah.
Yeah.
I completely agree.
They were destroying Tampa Bay.
I have no idea what was going on.
I don't either. And their game against the Niners was, I think the only reason I have them here for the Mr. Unlimited moment is because of the way it ended. And the way it ended was the funniest ending to a game. It was like back to back to back, ridiculous. Like it was they threw it to the sideline to Schultz, who did not push up field, so the clock kept running.
Oh, and then the incomplete pass where he didn't even try.
Yeah, they threw
what
it.
Was he
and
thinking?
He had so much. I saw it and I immediately was like, I don't.
Did he get his feet in? I said the same thing. I was watching it and I was like, did he get both feet? Like, did he really?
Yeah. And I was laughing.
God!
I couldn't believe it. God, here we go. Let's see the last play, and then I don't know if you've re-watched the play because I've rewatched Zeke getting blown up 30 times because it is so funny. He gets
on the final play.
On the final play, so hard. He gets
crushed. Why throw that ball?
And then, I mean, I don't even know. What people are. I saw someone break it down. What they think they were going to do was they were going to have Dak throw the ball, and then Dak runs around. They lateral it to Dak, and then he runs with the offensive lineman, and then he throws it across the field backwards to someone on the other side of the field. But it was like they didn't think about, this guy catching the ball actually has to catch it without being destroyed.
Right. He's not just gonna. They're not just gonna give it to him. He actually has to develop the play. He actually has to be open and have, at least a second to catch it and lateral it. Unbelievable.
It was so fun.
I remember watching it. I remember watching it live because my brother was texting me that he had a bet for San Francisco to win, and the under was like at its limit. Like any more points, field goal, touchdown, anything would have ended the game. So as Dallas was driving and they were able to go for the Hail Mary, I was laughing, thinking, Schultz just got that extra 15 yards or whatever. Now the Hail Mary is possible. I'm sitting here thinking, my brother's probably sweating his ass off. And then when you watch the play and you realize he didn't catch it, I was like, oh well, now the game's just over.
Yeah, now
the game was really over when they made zero effort on that final play. Like what?
That was so funny. Just watching Zeke get pancaked though is so funny.
I mean, he just gets obliterated. And then he tweeted after the game that he'll be willing to take a pay cut to stay in Dallas. After what they just did to you,
I saw that.
You're going to take a pay cut and stay? Come on, man. They don't deserve you.
Every time I see someone with a Zeke jersey, I'm just going to be like, where's the snap? Where's the snap, Zeke? Give me the snap. Snap the ball.
Yeah, until one of them is until it's like a 6 foot tall, 250 pound dude, and you'll let him go,
No, I still talk trash. I gotta fully talk trash to Cowboys fans. No.
If you're just at the grocery store, you're just gonna shoot.
It's worth it. Yeah.
You're just at the grocery store checking out, and you're gonna start chirping the Dallas fan checking out in front of you.
Yep, exactly.
That would be so funny. I can imagine it. I loved all those videos of Dallas fans running over their TVs, shooting their TVs, smashing their TVs, burning their jerseys. Oh my God. I just love watching that crap.
We're going to talk about my feelings on Sunday. But man, I'll just tell you, I had a great weekend last weekend. It was phenomenal. It was amazing. I was on cloud 9. It was everything I wanted because for me, the thing about the Cowboys is their coaching is terrible, and I just feel like it always finds a way to unravel itself. Like the coaching, that last play was like the epitome of what I just feel like McCarthy is never going to dial up a crazy play that actually works. He's going to do some stupid shit like that. Or last year, do a QB sneak when they need to, Do you remember that, right? Where they did like a QB run and then couldn't clock it in time.
Yeah.
It's like the same thing.
Didn't they run like 15? They ran like 15 yards up the field. The referee like replaced the ball, which delayed the snap, and they spiked it down with zeros on the clock or something.
Exactly. Yeah, it was.
And that was versus San Francisco as well. So it's really funny that they crumbled twice. They had two really awful final plays back-to-back seasons to get eliminated from the playoffs versus the same team. Although last year was in the wild card round, I believe. This was...
Yes. Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, last year was the wild card round.
Because they didn't make it as far last year. They were one and done. I thought they were going to be one and done.
And San Francisco wasn't
this year
division winner either. I think the Rams won the division. So Dallas won the division. And yeah, they were at home when they did it too. So.
Oh man, Dallas as a unit never seems to disappoint. They always
never.
they always just blow up. That meme circulates every year, where it's like the circle of life. Dallas starts winning a few games. The fans start saying this is going to be our year. Dallas makes the playoffs. Dallas chokes out of the playoffs. Rinse, repeat. Every year they just pull out a gun and shoot themselves in the foot, and how can they do it so consistently?
It wouldn't be like I wouldn't be as happy if Cowboys fans weren't the most obnoxious fans, because no matter what, they're like just delusional and they think their team is going to win, and they're always talking trash
every year.
It's like no matter what, they always think they're going to win the Super Bowl. They always think their team is the best team. They have the most talent. And it's just so annoying. Especially as an Eagles fan, I cannot tell you. Every Cowboys fan I encounter always talks trash. They always think they're going to win. And it's just so funny to see this. I mean, what can I say?
To be fair,
it's funny. Yeah.
On paper, they do have a solid group. But when you don't have those coaches...
Do they really, though? Or are you just brainwashed by Cowboys fans? Are you brainwashed by Cowboys fans into thinking their players are amazing?
You cannot deny, like, CD, Dalton, Zeke, Pollard, Dak, Parsons on defense. You can't deny that they have, like, a core group of elite, talented players. But they don't have, like, a full squad. They don't have all the pieces to pull it together. And, like you said... They don't have coaches just putting together the right pieces at the right time to really solve the puzzle. But I do believe like their core like 6-7 players that like you would consider like leaders of the team. Those guys are really good top level.
I think they're still overrated though. Like I think Dak is over. I think he's good, but I still think he's overrated. I think he's like maybe a top 10 quarterback, but they're acting like Dak's a top 5 quarterback, and they're acting like CD is a top 5 wide receiver, and they're acting like
I wouldn't put either in the top 5. Yeah, I agree with you.
And then I saw people comparing Pollard to Christian McCaffrey, and I'm like,
I saw the same thing, and I'm like, are you drunk? I saw the same thing, I even heard somebody saying that they would prefer to have Pollard because he seems a little bit more explosive.
What are you talking about?
Someone actually said that they would have preferred Pollard over McCaffrey on a team.
It's crazy.
If they built, it is unbelievable. Are you drunk, or worse?
And it's like the whole America's team thing. It's so infuriating, and I don't know. It's just literally like I would not mind them. Like I would not mind them as much if the fans were just not like if they were. Not delusional. I would not mind them as much, Or
even the slightest bit humble.
Yeah, exactly.
But you can rest easy because your team is playing a home game next weekend, and they are all going to be on vacation in Europe or whatever.
Yeah, they're going to be watching. Or they're going to go to Vietnam with Cliff Kingsbury.
I saw that. He said Thailand, right?
Thailand. Oh, it is Thailand.
He booked a one-way ticket to Thailand and says, "Look, I just got to get football off my mind for a while."
Yeah, a one-way ticket. I mean, they're gonna fire him, but like,
sorry, he's like, "Screw it, I'm out of here."
The issue is his contract's fully guaranteed, So
I
like,
think he was just expected to be fired, so he left.
yeah, exactly.
To be fair, that's hilarious. People do it in my job all the time. They think they're going to get fired. They instead of doing their 2 weeks notice, they just put in PTO and they take a vacation.
That's so funny. All right, let's get into the playoff bracket now. I think we've we've talked enough about the Cowboys and my hatred for them. So I guess
not
we can start
enough,
with-
but we'll settle.
well, you ruined my joke because we're going to talk about the wildcard matchups, and the first one we're going to talk about is Tom Brady versus the Dallas Cowboys.
Jesus, they will never rest in peace because we won't let them.
We won't let him. Well, Tom
Jesus.
Brady may be done, so he may rest in peace.
Do you think so? You think he's done?
I don't know. I think it's questionable. I think he's done in Tampa Bay. I don't think he's going to.
Oh, he's definitely done in Tampa Bay.
I
I
will
give
say
him one season in Las Vegas, and then he'll retire.
exactly. And I don't think the Tampa Bay coach was ready to coach because I feel like he was. I don't know. He's a defensive coordinator, or he was, and I just don't think Todd Bowles was ready because I don't know. Maybe he is ready, and maybe they just need a better offensive coordinator. But their offense could not convert on anything in the red zone. It was terrible. Like Tom Brady, I think he had the most yards he's ever had in the season, and he had like no points. They just could not score. It was hard to watch sometimes.
It was a very ugly game.
Players, yeah, it was.
Or as a Dallas hater, you were probably watching that game just begging for them to do anything because you hated. I know you hated sitting there watching Dallas just do whatever they wanted, basically the whole game.
Oh yeah.
I hated it.
It was hard to watch sometimes. The thing about it though is that it really just felt like Tampa Bay couldn't convert. They couldn't score, and the only thing I did take out of it was Maher missing 4 extra points because that was hilarious. But I think overall, it didn't really prove anything about the Cowboys, and that showed in the next game we'll talk about later. But it just felt like Tampa Bay just collapsed, and I know we both predicted Dallas to win that game. That was the only prediction I've gotten wrong so far in the playoffs.
That we incorrectly predicted that Tampa Bay would beat Dallas?
Yeah. And
yeah, we got that wrong.
I think if I really wasn't being a Dallas hater, I would have picked Dallas to win that game because Tampa Bay has been so bad. But it was like the narrative, you know? I just got caught up in the Tampa Bay narrative, the Dallas narrative, and I picked Tampa Bay to win. Even though I think if I really just did it, like my first instinct, my gut instinct was probably to pick the Cowboys or to win, just because Tampa Bay was terrible.
Yeah, we talked about that after the game, and I did admit to you that irrationally, I was a victim of the Tom Brady is Mr. Playoffs, you know, just get him into the playoffs and he can make it happen. And we completely disregarded the fact that Tampa Bay looked god-awful down the stretch. And there was no legitimate reason for us to think that they could win a football game. But we just... a mixture of Dallas hatred and another part of like Tampa Bay, Tom Brady playoff magic. And that was the only pick we got wrong. I got pretty much everything wrong the following week, but that was the only pick we got wrong the first week.
I think and the hardest one that we got right, I think, was Kirk Cousins being Kirk Cousins, because
we correctly predicted that. Yep, and we predicted probably should have been an incorrect pick, but Jacksonville somehow made that comeback, man. How did they do that?
I mean, I don't know. It was like Jacksonville looks like they have a genuine future. I will say, the beginning of the game, Jacksonville was getting absolutely screwed on calls by the refs, because there were like a couple plays where I was just like, what are the refs doing? The refs want the Chargers to win. I'm pissed because I wanted Jacksonville to win. And then Jacksonville just turned it on and could not be stopped. And the
It was
Chargers coaching
unbelievable.
was terrible. The coaching was terrible for the Chargers. They couldn't call a play. They couldn't complete a pass. It was like, what is going on?
It was
So,
it was
I don't
bad.
know.
What if I told you that Justin Herbert finished the season with the same amount of touchdown passes and only one fewer interception than Justin Fields?
Oh wow.
Did you know that?
You know,
Comparing
makes
their
sense.
wide receiver groups, one of them has an elite wide receiver group.
Well, hold
The
up.
other
hold
one
up,
has
though.
the other one. Well, all right, I don't want to say elite, but you got Mike
Well,
Williams, Keenan Allen,
I think that those two
Eckler out of the
players are elite,
backfield.
but they've been injured all year. That was
Eckler
my-
out of the backfield. Yeah, you're right. They didn't play all year. And then you got Mooney, Cole Kmet. What, Claypool played like half the season technically, but not really.
You know what? You have a point, because I would argue that Josh Palmer and DeAndre Carter are better than any of the receivers on the Bears. So
just comparing their TD and interception stats is like whatever. But then when you compare who they were throwing it to, and one of them is a lot worse than the other. But we praise Herbert and seem to hate on Fields. And I think the Chargers are heading for a decline, man. I wouldn't be surprised if Jacksonville takes over the AFC as like the up and coming younger team with like Lawrence and Zay Jones and all those guys, because that was the Chargers for a couple seasons. We were like, oh, they're on the up and up. They're going to be back. They'll be like a playoff contending team every year. I don't know if we can say that anymore.
no, I agree. I mean, I will say I have some hesitancy in ruling them out yet, because I do think Herbert was shaken up most of the year. He got that huge rib injury and then kept playing and kept getting hit in the ribs in that one game.
True.
It was like, dude, just take him out. Like, I felt like the coaching like screwed him over. And then I feel like the play calling has been terrible for the Chargers. I've never been a fan of their coaches. And I think that's a big issue that it seems like they've had. But I do agree, like, Herbert just doesn't win. I can't tell if it's the coaching or if it's really just he doesn't have that, like, winning mentality. I mean, he went to
the
Oregon.
it factor.
Yeah. Like, he went to Oregon. Like, Oregon's not, like, doesn't give you, I don't know. It doesn't have that vibe. Like, oh, this is where you want your players to go to because they have that winning mentality. Like,
I got you. I mean, a couple. I guess when he was there, they were competitive, but then ever since, they kind of fell off, right?
but even then, they weren't, like, winning the national championship. They weren't competing for the national championship. Like, yeah, they're good.
Didn't they
They're,
make
like,
the
only winning
playoffs
one
a
or two
couple-
games.
Didn't they make the college
playoffs?
I could have sworn I
I'd be
remember there was a time. I could have sworn I can remember a time where Oregon was like the number one team. I could be wrong.
Let me check. Yeah, because I don't know.
College football playoffs history.
I don't think so. Because I would be surprised. Because usually the Pac-12 never does good. I'll just say that.
See, I know that you watch football. This is going to sound weird. You watch football in a different way than I do.
Yeah.
I would claim that I watch football from a purely entertainment standpoint, and I know a little bit about the X's and O's and what's going on. But I think you watch football from a more of like as well as entertainment and analytical point of view. Like, you understand like the coach's decisions. You know like what a team should be doing in certain situations, this, that, the other. Whereas I don't necessarily watch it from that perspective. So I'll just trust your judgment on that. When you come from that, I'll listen to you.
Well, I appreciate it. I I thank you for the compliment.
So if you tell me that coaching staffs are letting teams down, I have no choice but to bow down to your superiority. I have to just believe you for sure.
That's what it feels like. I mean, yeah, it's really hard to tell sometimes. Like, is that coming from the offensive coordinator? Is that coming from the head coach? Because I don't know if you saw, but the Chargers it looks like they're keeping their head coach, but they're firing their coordinators. They're firing their QB coach. It's like, so
most people I see, most times it does seem like they tend to blame the coordinators.
Yeah, exactly.
But I guess you could answer that question. Those guys, they're the one. Like, what does the head coach do necessarily? If you have an offensive and a defensive coordinator who are in charge of who's on and off the field and play calls, what is the head coach responsible for?
Yeah, that's what it's hard to know because like every team's different, I'm sure, but like I'd imagine they're just like I'd imagine they have some say like they have saying the play calls, timeouts, like what kind of players are playing, like that kind of stuff, personnel, overall just like morale for the team too. But I'd imagine every coach in the NFL is probably doing play calling in some sense, like either on offense or on defense. So
they're not completely they're not completely out of control. Okay.
Yeah, I'd imagine it would, because I feel like they all have egos too. So I'd imagine that it would be hard to like take that away from them. But I guess you never know. It's really hard to know behind the scenes what they're doing, I think.
Okay.
But I guess we did get from that game an amazing play call by the Jags. Was that fake QB sneak handoff?
Oh,
that was
geez.
So cool.
Where they ran it off to the side.
Yeah.
They did like a little they did like a little fumblerooski / like Statue of Liberty situation where it looks like he's gonna sneak, and then it looks like Lawrence might be going left, but he hands it off, and ETN comes back to the right. That was
exactly.
My heart dropped when they snapped that ball because I was watching the game and wanted Jacksonville to win so badly. So when I saw it was 4th down, I stopped dealing my game. I stopped working for like 30 seconds, and I was like, guys, I got to watch this play. Sorry. They're like, no. They're like, no, we're watching too. Like, it's cool. We'll take a break for a second. And when they snapped that ball, and it wasn't an immediate just like lean forward and push over the line, your heart sinks for a second because you.
Oh, yeah.
Because now you don't know, like, are they going to call some stupid play and they don't get it? But when you see ETN get the ball and you realize he has at least like 10 yards in front of him, it looks like, the confidence comes back pretty quickly. But for a split second, you're like, oh my God, they ruined it. It's over.
Yeah.
I was nervous, but super exciting.
It was crazy. Oh yeah. Very exciting. Crazy game. I guess for the rest of the wild card, don't know if we need to talk about Baltimore or Miami, because I think it wasn't really a fair matchup. They didn't have their QBs, but they actually looked like they had chances in both games. So
I support that. And we could talk about another QB sneak play, because there's absolutely a 0% chance that anybody on the Ravens team told him to try to dive over the players and reach for the goal line. He is not built for that. He's too tiny. If anybody got their hands on him in any capacity, he is not strong enough while airborne to push through that. He's basically saying that without his feet on the ground, he's still strong enough to push through contact. No, absolutely not. You weigh like 190 pounds. No, you're not strong enough. You need to stay on the ground. We talked about it. I went into that game with zero expectations. If they lost, they lost. If they almost won, I'd have been excited that they were in the game.
Yeah.
But that was a particularly upsetting way to lose, because that was not play call. There's a 0% chance that they called that play and said, pretend like you're going to sneak and then jump over their heads. Nobody agreed to that. He improvised that and cost his team, and nobody will convince me otherwise. There's no way that was a play call. 0%.
Yeah, I'm not really sure I don't know what they're thinking, but the other team that I guess Seattle. I just wanted to quickly mention that it doesn't feel like
Seattle.
they have a chance to win the Super Bowl with Geno Smith, and it sucks to say that, but I think they do have promise for the future. They have a lot of picks. If they can get a really good QB, let them train under Geno, I think that's how they have a future. That's how they win the Super Bowl in a couple years. So
I can agree with that. You sort of think
they
that
have
Geno
Denver's
Smith has a ceiling. Like
Yeah.
Geno Smith, we've seen as much as we possibly will see out of Geno, you think?
yeah, and I don't think he's a bad quarterback. I think he should be playing somewhere. He can help out certain teams. I mean, if he was playing for the Niners, he'd probably be in the same situation, if not better than Brock Purdy. So
That's true.
I don't think
with that.
Seattle has a realistic chance to get like that much talent surrounding them, and that the coaching is just so good in San Francisco. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. But
I was still happy for that storyline for Geno Smith in particular.
yeah, definitely.
That he pretty much didn't play for like 2 seasons. He was forgotten. He was like a relic of the league. He was just fading away into irrelevancy. And then he hopped off the couch, broke any record that Russell Wilson had for passing yards, and got his team to the playoffs. I mean, it was an exciting
It's
run.
a cool story. Yeah. No, I totally agree. Yeah.
I fear that might be like what you said. Like next year, he might come out and just like lay an egg, and then everyone's like, "Oh yeah, that's why he didn't play for 2 years." You know what I mean?
Yeah. I hope people don't
fear.
forget this year and that he actually did really good.
I don't think he'll let them forget it. If they start chirping, he'll just be like, "Hey! I came off the bench and took you guys to the playoffs. Come on, show me some love." That's what I would do if I were him.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows? But we have
Who else played that weekend?
we talked about all the matchups actually. I think now because we talked about. I mean, I didn't talk.
The
We didn't
Bills
talk about
beat
all
the
the
Dolphins.
teams,
Yeah, but we don't
yeah.
have to talk about that. Who was the other AFC matchup?
it was.
Oh, we already talked about that. Chargers,
we already
Jaguars.
talked about
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess we can move on to the divisional, and I guess we can start with the Giants Eagles. And I feel like the Giants, they look like they have a future, but they just are not a good enough team yet. You know, they don't have the talent there. So I think it's promising, and this is kind of what you wanted to see out of the Giants. Like you wanted to see them win a playoff game, and that's kind of it. You didn't expect them to beat the Eagles, and they didn't.
Correct. I will be
they beat-
excited
Yeah.
to see their wide receiver core develop a little bit better because
Yeah.
they're still I mean they're still young. Oh, some of them, not all of them. Like Richie, like Richie James and such. I think if they can sort of find a role and continue
Yeah.
developing, that's exciting for them for sure.
I will say though, like it feels like overall the Giants like are just they can never get wide receiver studs to work. Like Kenny Golladay, complete dud. Kadarius Toney, complete dud. So I am a little worried about like them just training wide receivers. It seems like they don't have that talent, or Daniel Jones just isn't like throwing in that way, you know. So
Yeah, and I guess Odell Beckham was like the last guy that they had that was able to
Yeah.
be consistent. But then they had to get rid of him for behavioral issues. So obviously, I don't think that they're on a level to compete with Dallas yet, or definitely not Philadelphia. But I think they're on a correct path.
yeah, I agree. I could see them passing the Cowboys in a couple years if the Cowboys have crazy contracts or something with some players. If they don't, I don't know. I feel like that could be what happens. But I guess we have to talk about the other side of the matchup, and that is the Eagles, who were very dominant in that game. I think they're the favorites against San Francisco.
They
But-
better be.
I do think it's going to be close. I don't think it's going to be. So I'm holding out my my optimism because you know how I am. I have to be pessimistic before it happens. Otherwise, if it goes wrong, I'll be mad. So I think if they don't win that game, they're going to keep getting haters. So I think they really need to win that game.
I think that the youth and speed that the core players of Philadelphia have is a good mismatch for San Francisco's very physical front line of defense, like their pass rushers. I think that Jalen Hurts is able
the best offensive line too. So
I agree. So Hurts' ability to have to move the ball quickly, like if he has to have like a snap to release and he has like, just like 2 seconds, that benefits the Eagles because I think that they have a good core group of guys that they are able to move the ball quickly and effectively, even if they just have to get 5-6 yards per play and just slowly move the ball down the field. I think they're built for that, and I think they'll be happy to play that game all day. And I think they could just chip them apart. I'm excited.
No, I totally agree. I think the matchup's good for the Eagles. I still think it's going to be close. But yeah, I'm excited. I think it's going to be a great weekend of football. And I guess we can talk about the other game that determined who they're playing, and that's Dallas, San Francisco again. Let's go.
We could talk about that one more time.
We can. So I just feel like Dallas will always trip over themselves. I mean, we'll see. I mean, the year that Dallas starts winning again is going to be sad for me, but for the time being, I'm very happy. I just feel like they have the most annoying fans. I mean, I said it.
Enjoy it while you can.
They even found a way to annoy me a day after they lost, because I was hearing on the radio and I was seeing on Twitter saying that Dak Prescott is like Josh Allen. And they were comparing him to Josh Allen because they both haven't made it that far. Except Josh Allen has made it further. We'll talk about that in a little, but the more accurate comparison I saw was that Josh Allen is the poor man's Cam Newton.
They play a similar style of football, but except Cam Newton actually made it to a Super Bowl.
Yeah. I can see
which is weird to think about, and Josh Allen is still young. He's got plenty of time to stop choking in the playoffs, but I thought it was a funny comparison.
Yeah, it is funny. I will say too that I think Purdy is overrated, but I think that San Francisco is just great. So that's kind of why I'm thinking that the Eagles just have a better matchup, because they're also like great talent wise, but I think Hurts is like far better than Purdy. Like I think Purdy is essentially, I would say, even bottom of the pack right now. Like he could improve into a great quarterback, but they just have great coaching and a great team, and they don't ask him to do too much. I mean, we saw it against Dallas, a good defense. He reminds me of Mac Jones. How Belichick coached Mac Jones to not do anything. Like there was that one game that the Patriots played where Mac Jones got like 2 throws, and I feel like that's something that Purdy, they don't ask him to do too much.
Build the team so your quarterback doesn't have to go out there and throw like 50 passes a game.
Yeah,
which is essentially what they've done. And to be fair, he's made it look impressive. At the same time, he's not like out there making like ridiculous throws or doing anything like that. You get excited watching him play for whatever reason. He puts it together.
Yeah. Well, I guess next we can talk about Buffalo versus Cincinnati. The game.
Ooh, you mean Buffalo versus the snow?
Buffalo versus snow. Sure. The game that decided our our bracket because I have officially won the bracket because
You crushed
all of our
me.
picks, you can't get any more points than I can get, essentially. So,
Right. You're ahead and I can't make it up. I can't make up the difference.
Yeah.
Correct. Brutal. You kicked my
it
ass.
all came down, like I said, to Cincinnati versus Buffalo. And
You did predict that. You said if Cincinnati
did
beats
predict that.
Buffalo, then I was in a world of hurt. Man, I thought Buffalo was gonna. I thought they were finally gonna rally, and I thought that the DeMar Hamlin recovery story would have been like their motivation to like we got to go out there and win for our boy, sort of thing.
Yeah.
I thought that would be enough. It sort of reminded me when Ray Lewis announced he was retiring, and an average at best Ravens wildcard team went on to win the Super Bowl. I just thought that was going to be their moment.
No, definitely. I think that's a good point. But Cincy is just too good. They're the real deal. I mean, Burrow's amazing, and I just feel like they have what it takes. Like they have that it factor.
They do. There's no denying that.
Buffalo, I feel like they've been on a downturn on offense the last 8 weeks. I've kind of been mentioning it for a while now that they've just been off. Something's been off. I think they need some change, whether it's a new wide receiver, a new coach, a new offensive coordinator, new QB coach, something like that.
Yeah,
They really need.
It just feels really, I don't know what's the word, unfair to say that somehow they weren't clicking and they were playing poorly and not winning games convincingly. They were on an 8-game win streak until they just lost to Cincinnati. So they were, while it didn't look convincing, they were still doing the things correctly that it takes to win a game. It's so weird to say that they weren't. I don't know what. Yeah, I can't find the word for it. I need a thesaurus.
I will say, I think most of those wins, though, were the defense. Like, the defense has been playing amazing.
I suppose that's fair.
Yeah, and I think, like, because I just feel like their offense hasn't been converting. I mean, they barely beat Baltimore that 1 week with what's his name?
Oh, I don't know. Their third
Brock
string.
Purdy, definitely not. Yeah, but they barely beat them that week. They barely beat the Lions. And don't get me wrong, the Lions are a good team, but they're not like a great team, you know? I think we get caught up on the number like 8 games or whatnot, but we don't. The details are like, I feel like their defense has been great. Like, I think whoever's the defensive coordinator should be staying no matter what, if they can. But I feel like their offense has just been shaky.
I suppose that's fair. I do seem to remember a lot of Buffalo like defensive touchdowns and takeaways and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I'll give you that. It is possible, I suppose, to win 8 games in a row and not be pretty about it. I mean, look at the Vikings. They won like 11 one-score games, and not many people actually were convinced that they were actually really good. So,
yeah, I mean, look at the game against Miami. They barely beat them, and they had 1 kickoff return for a touchdown, and then like, was it another? Did they have 2?
They had 2 in one game. Yeah, no, they had 2 returns for either 2 kickoffs or 1 kickoff, 1 punt. But they definitely had 2 returns for touchdowns.
Yeah, and they were not looking good until they started getting some help, I guess. But I feel like their defense is amazing, and I think their team is good. But I felt like Cincinnati just matched up well against them. Like, I think Buffalo could have beaten Kansas City. They've kind of done it in the past. The narrative that Josh Allen is the same as Dak Prescott is the stupidest narrative I've ever heard in my life. Because Josh Allen he made the conference championship, though, 2 years ago, right? And
did he?
Should have won last year against Kansas City. I feel like people forget that.
Yeah, that's the 15-second shenanigans.
Yeah.
Where they somehow got from a touchback to field goal position in 2 plays in like 20 seconds or something ridiculous.
It was like the stupidest play calls on defense. And I just feel like I do agree that he has kind of choked in the playoffs. This year, he definitely choked. But I don't think that's like I don't know, a rock solid narrative. Because, like, Peyton Manning choked a lot early in his career. And I just have a feeling that, like, eventually he is going to get through. It's just, you have Burrow and Mahomes, who are, like, the two new quarterbacks of the generation in the same division. It's like, Burrow and Mahomes, every year that they've, like, actually been playing, they've made the conference championship. So it's like, how can you beat them?
It does seem like there's like a new era of like when Tom Brady was in New England, they won the division every year and like at least won a playoff game every year.
Yeah.
It just feels like these are the two or three guys. And for a while, we assumed that we could put Lamar Jackson in that conversation too, but I don't think so anymore. Where you just got Burrow, Mahomes, and a little bit of Josh Allen that are just going to be going head to head for like the next 10 years, just seeing like which one can come out on top each year, and everyone else sort of feels like they're playing from behind.
Yeah, exactly. And since they're all in different divisions, and then you also have Lawrence in his own division, it's going to be like, it could literally be these four in like the divisional round like every year. Like,
that would be a fun like story, because this is the same AFC championship as last year.
Yeah.
So Burrow beat Mahomes last year in week 17 or week 16. Then he beat him in the AFC championship. Then he beat him again in like week 4 or 5 or whatever it was. He has a chance to go. He has a chance to go 4-0 against Mahomes when most other people can't seem to beat him at all.
Yeah.
No one else feels like they have a shot against a healthy Kansas City team. And Burrow, granted, the defense has to play well and everyone else has to play well. It's not just Burrow versus Mahomes out there. But how he can consistently come out on top, I fully believe that Burrow is the real deal for at least the next, like, I told my pop after I watched Burrow's first year before they even made their playoff run, I said the Ravens are going to have their hands full winning the division for the next 5-6 years. If they win if they win any division titles, we should feel lucky. I told him. He's like, you know what? I don't like it, but I have to agree with you. They seem to be the real deal, and it.
I agree.
I think that reign of terror continues.
No, I do. I agree, and I think the other game that we haven't talked about was the Chiefs versus the Jags. Obviously, the Jags were playing on house money in this game.
Right, they just felt lucky to be there, I think, is what you're getting at.
Yeah, but they did put up a lot more of a fight than the Giants. And I feel like Andy Reid is just too good of a coach. So they kind of just won and can't really stop Mahomes. Even though he was injured, he literally came out for a drive and they still scored. And then Mahomes came back in. It was a wild series of events.
That is pretty brutal. Now, I didn't watch because I was working, I believe.
Yeah.
But you told me, I believe, that Jacksonville actually played late with a chance to win the game, but had like crazy turnovers that you weren't sure if they even should have counted as turnovers. I never went back and watched the highlight videos, and the highlight videos probably wouldn't show those plays anyway if there was controversy. At least not at least not the official like NFL published highlight videos. That stuff probably wouldn't get out. But
so
that is wild.
I guess what I'll say is that Jacksonville was down like 10.
Okay.
And they just kept keeping it within 10. They would score, and then KC would go down. KC would have some 3 and outs or just slow drives, but then Jacksonville would have a slow drive too. So the closest Jacksonville got it was 3. And then KC comes down the field, scores. Jacksonville gets the ball back, goes down the field all the way to the Kansas City 10. And then they throw a 5-yard catch to Zay Jones. And doesn't look like a fumble, but it's ruled a fumble because he fumbles it. And you look at the replay, and I will 100% say this. That catch was less of a catch than Jamar Chase's touchdown catch that they called back. There was no way that Jamar Chase's catch should have been ruled incomplete if this was ruled a catch and fumble.
So you think he didn't meet the criteria, like 2 feet, football move situation, and then it got like knocked out. So it should have been an incomplete pass rather than a catch and a fumble, you think?
Yeah, and then it would have been 2nd and 10. But this was on first down, and it was to the 5-yard line. So it wasn't a touchdown. So it was just, I felt like it was dumb. So that play ends. Jacksonville makes Kansas City punt the ball back to them anyway. So they're down 10. So they forced I think it was a 3 and out, or just like a one first drive or something. Yeah, a quick drive. They get the ball back and they're going down the field, and then they feel like they're pressured. Trevor Lawrence throws it downfield and throws a pick. So
Jesus.
I felt like if they scored that first touchdown, they would have been more likely that they wouldn't have had to press down the field further. And I really did feel like the refs screwed them over again. It was crazy. It really felt like the refs did not want the Jags to win either of those games. And it didn't seem last week. I feel like they only got one bad call last week. So it didn't seem as egregious as against the Chargers when they had like 3 missed calls in the first half. But yeah, it felt like they just did not want the Jags to win. So unfortunately, Trevor Lawrence's Saturday win streak is over. He is no longer undefeated on Saturdays.
That was a hell of a run.
Yeah, it was.
That's crazy.
Run. He tried, but it wasn't enough in the end. Because in the end, it doesn't even matter.
All right, Lincoln Park. What was his name? Chester Bennington?
Oh, I have no clue. But yeah, I guess we can talk about the actual conference matchups now. A little future predictions, maybe.
I'm not allowed.
You're not allowed. I guess we can first quickly talk about the Eagles then, if you don't want to talk about too much. But
my jinxes are too strong.
Your jinxes are too strong. As much as we did talk about the Eagles matching up well into San Francisco, I do think that San Francisco is a scary team. And Hurts, I did not think he looked fully healthy. It looked like he was not limping per se, but it didn't look like he was running full speed. It looked like he was running about 85% speed.
You don't think any of that was intentional? Like he didn't have to be going 100% because of the state of the game already was way in their favor? Is there a little possibility for that?
I don't think so, because it was early on that I was noticing it when he was running around, and it just didn't look like he was full speed. So okay. I'm worried. I think this is going to be a close game. I do think there is a chance that the Eagles just score a bunch, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's going to be a nerve-wracking game for me, no matter what, and I'm just going to have to hope that the Eagles pull it off.
Okay. I can agree with that. The as fast-paced as Eagles offense is, it could still be a full-on one-score game the whole time, where they always answer back and forth, or they have a lot of drives that stall. Yeah, we could have a whole quarter where they just both get to midfield and kind of stall out their drive, that sort of situation.
Yeah.
So
definitely,
I'm hoping for the Eagles offense to come out awake and ready, and I think if they do, they might be too much to handle, but we will see.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see.
I'm nervous for you,
though. I thank you. I appreciate it. The other matchup, though, is one I am excited about because I just got to watch this game for fun. Burrow is 3-0 against Kansas City.
Correct.
We talked about that earlier. Mahomes is a little shaken up. We talked about that earlier. But I still think it's going to be a great game. I will say that I think there is a chance that Kansas City is just stifled by the Bengals defense because the Bengals are just like so good. Like it's crazy. But I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be high scoring. That's what everyone is hoping for. Everyone is hoping it is not going to be a low scoring game.
Mm-hmm.
But that is a possibility.
I mean, it always is. But I feel like whenever Bills Bengals, Bills Chiefs, Bengals Chiefs, whenever one of those matchups is happening, everyone assumes fireworks. Like it'll be the greatest game you've ever seen.
Exactly.
Chess match, back and forth, bang bang, quick drives, big plays. Because that's what they've proven that they can do. We're not just expecting that for no reason. They've literally shown that that's what they bring to the table. It's unbelievable how every time they play, it's like 30-30 or 45-30 or just some ridiculous scoreline. That how did you possibly move the ball down the field that many times? But they do it every time.
Yeah, so I guess I'm excited to watch it. We'll see what happens.
I will predict.
Yeah, who are you predicting?
I'm not going to predict the NFC side, but I will predict that the Bengals win at some point in the fourth quarter. It'll be tied 33-33, and the Bengals will take over from there. Maybe they score a touchdown or a field goal to go ahead, and then they get a takeaway to ice the game. That's what I think. I think they win.
Okay.
I think they win 36-33. Bengals.
I think the Bengals win too, but I think it's going to be much lower scoring.
Ooh.
I think it's going to be like 26-13. I think.
Oh, you think they're going to really get them?
Yeah, and I think it's going to be very similar to what happened to the Bills, where the Chiefs just get shut out, essentially. Yeah, that's my thoughts, but...
do you think that there is a valid argument that this game should also be neutral site?
No, because I think the Chiefs already had a game and a half. So no matter what, even if the Bengals won, they would have been one game behind.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I guess that's fair then.
Yeah.
Right.
Even though it would be cool, I don't think it.
I retract my question. I did see the Joe Burrow interview where he was like, "Better start refunding those tickets."
Did he really? Oh my god!
Yeah, because they were already selling tickets at the Atlanta stadium. Yeah.
That's so funny.
He said him and the coach both pretty much were like, "I feel bad for the logistics department that spent all the time planning and setting all this up, and then we just come in and ruin all of their plans." Because essentially by beating the Bills, they undid a lot of hard work on the on NFL side, for moving that game. They undid a lot of which I think is hilarious and good for them. So funny. But
I think that's one thing too that I like about. Oh, sorry, what?
You're fine.
One thing I really like about Burrow, I feel like he toes the line of like acceptable cockiness and like. I feel like he's not too cocky, but he's like cocky in a funny way where it's still funny, you know?
I feel like when he does that, he's purely like playing a persona. Like I don't think he actually feels that way. I think he's just like playing into what people think is funny. At least that's the vibe I get.
Maybe.
I could be wrong. I think he just takes opportunities to put in like zingers and one-liners just for the laugh. I don't think he actually thinks, but we'll see. I guess maybe eventually we'll figure that out. If he just literally does it like his whole career, maybe we'll be like, you know what? Maybe he is just a cocky little shit. Right now,
I feel like
early to tell.
It's like not too cocky though, you know. Like
I always find it funny.
Confidence. Yeah.
I always find it like endearing and funny. I don't think he means it in like a malicious way.
That's how I feel too.
All right, that's good.
Awesome. Anyway, I guess we can move on to Ask Anissa, where I ask my wife Anissa a fantasy football question, and she knows nothing about football. So, Anissa, Which of these teams was the most disappointing in the playoffs? The Vikings, the Bills, or the Cowboys?
The Cowboys for sure.
The Cowboys. Yeah,
So disappointing.
definitely.
Yeah,
Nope.
terrible.
Yeah. Now let's play. What's your prop? Where we pick 3 prop bets for the other person who will pick a side. We will keep track of our records and then be publicly punished on the show at the end of the year. We obviously skipped last week, but 2 weeks ago, I went 3-0, baby! Woo! Finally catching up because Scotty also went 3-0. We both went 3-0. So the curse continues. I can never beat Scotty on a single week, ever. Ever. Since week 1.
Unlucky,
The
bro.
first week we did it. Yep.
Is it actually? Has that been true? I've won or tied every week since the first
Every
week.
week since the first week we did it, which I think was week 7. So,
That is
Scotty,
brutal.
you're now 25-14. So you're killing it. And I am 18-21. I'm catching back up to 500. So that's the goal for me, to pass 500.
Okay, we're getting there. We're getting there.
And you only had to give me a lot of easy ones to get there. So I appreciate it.
You're welcome. I gotta throw you another 3-0 this week so you can finish
Yeah,
500.
I may just have to make the Super Bowl worth like 100 points each. So
I mean, you are the boss. You control the point system. Go for
yeah,
it.
and then you'd have to do the embarrassing story. It would be a very fair competition if I did that. I guess, who do you want to... Do you want to go first? Do you have some good picks, or should I go first?
Mine are pretty tame, but I can go first.
All right.
My
So-
first one
Yeah.
is in Cincinnati.
Ooh, okay.
All right.
In
Joe
Kansas City.
Joe Burrow. Well, yeah, in Kansas City, but pertaining to Cincinnati, do you think Joe Burrow over under 2.5 touchdown passes?
Ooh, it's a hard
How do you
one.
feel about that?
It's a hard one because that's going to be right... Okay. It's going to be right on the line. It's either going to be 2 or 3, I feel like. But you know what? Based on what I said earlier, where I think it's going to be a lower scoring game, I have to take the under. I think he's going to get under 2.5. I think he'll get 2. So I'm taking the under.
All right, Joey B under 2.5 touchdowns. Interesting. I'm surprised you went with that.
I know.
Be
I know you
honest.
are. But I think you're going to be more surprised at my next pick. Because I'll
Over.
stay on the Bengals. And I'll stay with Samaje Perine. Does he get 3.5 receptions?
You ask the weirdest shit.
I know.
Give me the under. I don't know why.
All right.
Give me the
under
under.
Samaje
Just feeling
Perine. Sweet.
I don't know why. Just feeling the under. Interesting.
So, what's your next pick, Scotty, for me?
All right. We are going to switch conferences.
Ooh.
We're going to Philly, but we're talking about the Niners.
Okay.
George Kittle, 6.5 receptions, over
6.
or under.
Ooh, okay. 6.5.
A lot of quick go routes, slants over the middle. You know, Eagles defense moves quickly. They're gonna have to get that ball out. He can be a guy to get the receiving end of that. You know.
That is true. I think, though, however, that Brock Purdy, even though he does like him some George Kittle, I think he'll be checking it down to McCaffrey a lot. Throw in to Ayuk, to Debo. So I'm taking the under as well. Under 6.5 receptions.
Ooh, you're feeling really under this week. Okay.
I am. But
All right.
I think, well, let's see. Let's see if you pick under again. Because I guess I will stay on the same team as well with Elijah Mitchell. Does he get
Okay.
8.5 carries?
8.5 carries. Huh. That is a very interesting one. What in the world are you doing to me?
I know. I'm making you think. Putting you on your toes.
8.
I just want to beat you one of these weeks. That's my goal.
8.5 rushes for Elijah Mitchell. Wow. I can't. Nothing is like jumping out at me. Give me. I'm about to flip a coin, I think. But I can't do that. I have to make a choice. Give me. God. Because I really feel like it's going to be like a super competitive, close-ish game. But McCaffrey's kind of hurt, and like they're even questioning if he should play the game.
Exactly. So it should be a lock.
You're. God dang. I feel like you're setting me up here because on paper this should be a yes, but I don't believe.
What you watching some highlights over there? Some McCaffrey highlights?
I'm just trying to really decipher this one. I think personally, give me the under. I don't have. It should be over, but it feels like a trap. So I'm gonna go the other way.
All right, going under.
I feel like I'm getting set up.
You are.
I feel like if I take the over, it's a setup.
All right, so Scotty,
Let me
what's
ask
your
you.
next pick?
All right, I have to get you to finally go over.
Okay.
So, my way to get you to go over is by asking a very easy question. Jalen Hurts,
Okay.
rushing touchdown. 0.5 rushing touchdowns.
0.5.
So basically, yes. So basically, if he gets a rushing touchdown, it's over. If he doesn't, it's under. Just one.
Okay. Well, I think I'm gonna have to say yes. They just have too many ways. Too many ways to get rushing touchdowns. So yeah, rushing touchdown, Jalen Hurts.
But Jalen Hurts has to be the one to run it in.
Yep. Over.
All right, finally
Take
get him
over.
to
He got
go
one last
over.
week. I mean, he's gotten them probably over 50% of the weeks. So I gotta go with
that Niners front line is pretty stout. However,
yeah, but you got the QB sneaks, you got the designed runs. So I don't know. I'm hopeful.
I wanted you to take the over. I didn't want to have 6 unders because I know you're going to ask me some funky stuff, and I'm going to be going under again.
You can't take the over under on this one because this one.
But can I take a no?
Is who gets more carries, Isaiah Pacheco or Jerick McKinnon?
Carries or touches?
Carries.
That is an interesting one. That is a very interesting one.
See, I love making you think, but the issue is when you think, Scotty comes out, and then you start picking the right picks.
Give me Pacheco.
All right, Pacheco, more carries. P. Ryan, under 3.5 receptions. And Elijah Mitchell, under 8.5 carries. What did I pick?
I could go 0-3. You took Burrow under 2.5 touchdowns, Kittle under 6.5 receptions, and you said Hurts will have a rushing touchdown.
Awesome. All right.
This is this could be a 3-0 for you, 0-3 for me.
This could also be an 0-3 for me and 0-3 for you.
It always feels like it, doesn't it? You never feel confident.
Well, that's because I know I can never beat you. So, based on your picks, since you're going 0-3, I'm also going 0-3. So
Maybe we'll both go 1 and 2.
maybe, yeah. There we go.
I might get the Pacheco one right. I don't
think
feel
you
confident
will, yeah.
about. I don't feel confident about the 8.5 for Mitchell because McCaffrey's nursing an injury.
Yeah.
But just for some reason, I just felt like I had to go under. Just felt like a trick.
Yeah, because
know
Claudia
why.
came out and picked the right pick. Well,
We'll see. We'll see.
we'll see. Do you have a surprise segment for me today, Scotty, before I finish the episode?
I do not.
No.
I've been since I was still recovering from illness and busy doing other things. I did not do any research into potential interesting rules or segments for this week. Sorry to say.
It's fine. I am okay with that. So I guess we can move on to your strong opinion of the day. Are you ready, Scotty?
Always ready for a strong opinion.
All right. Well, that is that primetime games in the afternoon are a better timing than at night.